and that is actually the path or the Bodhisattva. So sentient beings who accept the Buddha's precepts are called Buddha children, and most certainly become Buddhas. Obviously, that is assuming that one practice earnestly and do not deviate from those precepts. Those who rely on the Buddha's noble teachings are called bodhisattvas. They continue the Buddha's wisdom life. So essentially, what they say is if one were to rely on the Buddha's noble teachings and therefore adopt that in practice, we are actually then, bodhisattvas are actually serving the cause of the Buddha. So therefore, one of the aspiration is actually to undertake serve the Buddhas, and that's where the wisdom mind is attained. To carry on the seeds of Buddhahood and prevent them from being eradicated sincerely makes them children of the Tathagata. And so being obviously, if we regard obviously the Lotus Sutra, talking about the father getting the children out of the burning house. So from that metaphor, refers to the children of the Tathagata. So in Master's explanation, giving a metaphor of following the path. So obviously, parents tend to want the children to take on the career path, and often, more often than not, they don't work out the way it does. But in the case of our relationship with the Buddha, it's different, and we chose the path ourselves. That's the reason why in the past few times shared with you all that the greatest power that we have as a human being is the ability to choose. So therefore, in our life, whether we live a foolish life or live a wisdom life, it's a matter of choice. And obviously, one can also complain that we got very difficult conditions, and therefore we can't choose the way, like some people have greater power to choose than others. Obviously, there is some truth to that. Obviously, when one is so poor and won't be able to do so, that's the reason why a lot of activities that Tzu Chi does is to try to elevate the pains and inspire them. But this teaching is addressed to all of us, and obviously, therefore, we have the merits to encounter the Dharma. So one of the things in our practice is to learn how to choose in everything that we do. So as Buddha's children, we must uphold the Buddha's precepts to pass on the Dharma lineage. And even upholding the Buddha's precepts is also a choice. We can choose to uphold, we choose to relax, or we just choose to comply with it partially. It's all a matter of choice. So precept, but we may need to understand the power of the precepts. They are very important in guarding against wrongs and evil. Obviously, because we are householders in practice, and the Buddha gave only undertake only 5 precepts. So if you have a chance to go on a pilgrimage trip and you will walk into Lumbini Gardens. Lumbini is the birthplace of Sakyamuni Siddhartha at that time, of the Buddha. And you'll find there's a big stone of there when you enter, and it's 5 precepts. And the 5 precepts are all given to all of us as lay practitioners. And that is the one that Master explained some lessons back to prevent the rebirth in the lower realms. But obviously in Tzu Chi, we have 10 precepts, right? So we must have sincerity, integrity, faith, and steadfastness as we interact with people and matters with the 4 great vows. So sincerity relates to the first vow. A vow that liberate sentient beings, and that's a sincerity, right? That is all internal cultivation, and you uphold that. The second vow is about integrity or honesty, within honest to yourself. And what is this? Is to uproot all your blind and evil passions, all your dust-like afflictions, and all your cause afflictions. And the third vow relates to faith, and the faith of that third vow, the vow is to enter all the Dharma doors. Dharma doors are innumerable, and you have to enter them all. And the last vow is for steadfastness to attain the way of the Buddha or the supreme enlightenment. And that can, and because the spiritual journey is one of immeasurable distance, and that's the reason why one had to walk with steadfastness. So where is the Bodhisattva training ground? Master say that it is amongst the people, matters, and things. And this is a phenomena, and obviously we undertake to go amongst the people to serve. Without experiencing things, our wisdom will not develop. So therefore, we need to experience things. We need to be in the conditioned practice, right? So therefore, understand. So once you develop the wisdom to ultimate and absolute wisdom, obviously then you can get into unconditioned practice. So it's like a lotus pond that the condition and all ruffle and it's all muddy. And that's why we need to go into precepts, right? Samadhi, which is stillness, and wisdom. And that is a flawless study that in the process of this path in learning and to grow to supreme wisdom. And the supreme enlightenment is when you have the wisdom, the universal wisdom of knowing everything. So the lessons learned. Inwardly, we earnestly seek the great Dharma. So we open up the Buddha's understanding and views and realize is to enter the Buddha mind. So, but so therefore the aspiration is for us, because enlightenment is through the mind. And it's through the mind, therefore we need to go into supreme wisdom. And therefore we need to understand the teachings and views of the Buddha, and which is all the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, to with perfection and with precision. So that's for us, that's a mind. So outwardly we express toward others and an attitude of subtle understanding of principles to help others. This is in practice of the virtues. Okay. So in therefore, if you look at it, the virtues and the wisdom are the one that we are trying to grow in this Bodhisattva path. And so we need to cultivate it. Obviously, when we do that, in compassion and wisdom, it's not about, say, we compartmentalize this compassion a separate part and wisdom is a separate part. So virtues obviously tend to relate to our heart, awaken our heart. Wisdom is the mind. But to do that, we practice like I explained to you before, when the internal cultivation and just sharing with you, I practice inside out. Okay. But when I practice on the part of the conduct and the virtues, I practice outside in, because it's from virtues that you practice. It can help you to grow in wisdom. And same thing with wisdom, then you can exercise virtues and compassion. So in contemplation, a short one today. Without laying the virtuous foundation, one cannot even begin to understand what wisdom life is. And this is the part that relates to the heart. So then you can ask yourself, you can actually see that in Tzu Chi, that what Master does is it opens up the heart of virtues in you, that only then, when the heart is softened, then you will be attracted to the path. And then you can grow to understand the Dharma and live the wisdom life. The virtues are the practice of learning beyond the self of things. So we understand the virtues, then you understand that everything in life is not about yourself, it's about others. So that is the Bodhisattva path. So then we learn the virtues, is practice of learning beyond the self. So to lose self-cherishing thoughts and all the self-interest. So in the absence of self, then you can learn beyond your mind. And this is what we want to do, because the mind is only the sixth consciousness. We need to go beyond that, and this is where we're trying to learn. So wisdom is beyond your thoughts. So in relationship, it's a relationship of humanity. Spend this life in grounding the virtues in the path through your heart, which relates to the contemplation earlier. So in a relationship that we have, and this may sound simple, relationship of humanity, but if you look around the world today, what is happening, and a lot of turmoil, a lot of wars going on right now. If you really start to observe and contemplate on it, the world is lacking humanity. Okay, it's as simple as that. And living the wisdom life to grow in wisdom of the mind. And that's just what we need to do. We ground the virtues, then only then we can live the wisdom life. The human life ought to live in humanity. And in this Dharma degenerating age, this is very little understood. And that's the condition we are in today. Okay, thank you.
Gan En so much, BrotherChin. I love that sentence, grounding the virtues. Indeed. Okay.